with any of these comments, there's the danger, taking seriously, that we do see more violence on the streets from people using weapons or who take the president's suggestions earlier on that you might need to shoot looters to heart, and that's a concern as well. It's not the sort of language you'd normally see a leader using in this type of situation.
The other thing is, and I know we harp on this, but just during this particular time, some of the tweets that he's put out, he wrote that he's leading in all swing states, for example. You know, he's talking about the polls. November 3rd was one of his tweets. You know, talking about the fact that it's all about Antifa. The lamestream media is doing everything within their power to foment hatred. One of the tweets was just fake news, law and order. He's given this address, which I think will be somewhat of a relief, albeit, as I said, peppered with some interesting references, but that you'd have a time like this, a president with these just sort of stream of consciousness thoughts, and that anyone could think this is leadership.
Yeah, look, what the words the president has to say, whether it's in a press conference like this or in his tweets, matter, and they reverberate through all of the 50 states of the United States. Normally you would have a leader trying to call for calm, trying to bring some sense of unity, not threatening to escalate levels of violence to get the situation back under control. We will know very quickly whether the president's strategy works. He is coming in hard. He is militarising the response. That's been done before. George H.W. Bush sent 4,000 Marines and Army troops into Los Angeles in 1992 after the riots there. That had some mixed results. But again, this is an issue which is of critical importance to a core constituency that will shape the election in November. What Joe Biden has to say in response to the president's comments will be very important. Black voters will be looking for him to show leadership on this, and they will be looking for what he has to say in response to the president's comments. And what the governors have to say in response to the idea that their states could see military deployments against their will be very important as well.
Yeah, not to mention just with the fabric of the whole nation. It's a presidency this term that's going to end with the real focus on two major events. Now, neither of these things Donald Trump started or, you know, could have stopped kicking off. That is what's happened with George Floyd and COVID-19. But the reaction to that, surely it's going to be hard for him to paint a picture of America being great again on his watch.
Well, we've seen 100,000 deaths in America. We've seen political disunity. We've seen chaotic press conferences and comments from the commander-in-chief. And now we're seeing violence, looting and fires in 75 major cities across the United States. It's very hard as an ally and friend of America not to feel like you're watching the end of an empire.
Stark words. We can see some picture of a trolley on fire there after the previous pictures, of course, Donald Trump making his way back from this church near the White House, walked there on foot after the areas were cleared by police around Lafayette Park and surrounds, which with no small effort. Just finally, I guess broadly, James, for the fate of the US right now, the concern has to be about this, not this particular patch of violence ending, but where the country is at. We're going to see with COVID-19, we've seen 40 million join the unemployment queue. We know it has a very minimal safety net. What happens from here? This won't be the start of people feeling unrest for a whole host of different reasons. And what a time for America to be so fragile.
Well, America's disunity is also its strength. So the solutions won't come from the president and his team alone. They'll come from private industry. They'll come from state governors. They'll come from county leaders. That sort of individualisation is a huge strength of America. It gives it the ability to innovate. There'll need to be innovation too, because the economic picture is not going to be good. Their international position is problematic at the moment, although there's some interesting suggestions that have been made by the administration in recent days about reshaping the G8 or the G7 or the G11. But what will matter most is making sure that Americans have jobs and making sure that the economy stays strong. So I think Americans have shown a tremendous capacity to reinvent themselves. Hopefully we'll see that again over the next 6 to 12 months.